This is WFO Radio.
What's up, everybody? How are you doing out there? WFO Radio is back live from the WFO Radio studios. I'm Joe Castello, and that's right, we're doing it 2 days in a row. It's like when you get a new car, you got to learn how to drive it. You got to make laps. You got to make runs. You got to get out there and drive, and that's exactly what we are doing. Yesterday's show, critical acclaim, despite the big crash at the very beginning, which is sometimes worth seeing, right? Like everybody says, it's like watching a train wreck. Well, how often do you see a train wreck? In fact, there was a train wreck just yesterday. Did you see that story? Craziness. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Guy wrecked the train on purpose. Yeah, I was just browsing the news. Pretty crazy stuff. On this show today, we're going to hear from a couple of guests. We started something new yesterday. Antron Brown was just tremendous. Great stuff. We did have a little audio issue at the very beginning. Today, we are going to improve. That's why you got to do it day after day after day. It's like learning to do a burnout in a pro stock car. Learning to do a burnout in a pro stock car is very, very hard and very challenging. From what I understand, my only experience is Jay Leno, right? The TV show back in the day, Mark Powick went on there, and Jay smoked the clutch out of it like several times in a row. It was like no mas eventually. Now, who on earth would know something about that? Well, our first guest is going to be Matt Hartford from Total Seal. Matt Hartford, top 5 in the world pro stock racer. We'll also have Justin Ashley, top fuel rookie, on the show here today, and we'll hear from listeners, and we'll do all that feedback, and we'll just kind of have a good time for an hour or so. But remember, this is all just a commercial. Everything is a commercial nowadays for the WFO Radio podcast, available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can get it at any of these places, SoundCloud, Stitcher. My favorite, of course, we got the WFO Radio mobile application. That is available. It is free. You can listen to this, and you can get these shows, by the way, in the video section. They appear as soon as they're done. Boop, pops up right there. It's pretty amazing. But before we go any further, let's bring on our first guest. He is, what are you, a pro stock driver, or are you the CEO of Total Seal? What's your top one headline?
Joe, for the next several months, the only priority is the CEO of Total Seal, and obviously even moving forward after that is my priority. Racing is one of the major loves of my life, but it's not the priority of my life. Running this company and providing for the 56 families that we have working here, that is absolutely the priority.
Great priority, and I love it as well. Matt Hartford, everyone. Matt Hartford from Total Seal. So, Matt, you wanted to run a company. Well, now you are in the most challenging time of any of our lives, I can imagine. The only thing I can maybe compare it to is World War II, the Great Depression. I hear all kinds of different analogies being made, but what's your take? You've had military experience. You've been an engineer on a submarine. You were recently in Southeast Asia. You've got a lot of good information for us, but let's keep it focused on the management situation over there. Racers, racing, engine builders, they have a unique opportunity to get all their work done so that they can go play when this is over.
I sat down with all of our team leaders yesterday, and, I said, this is probably the most difficult time in the history of Total Seal. And for me to be at the helm of the ship right now it was a choice that I made. I was not forced into this position. I chose it, and I am very glad that I did. We have a lot of really good people out here in the shop working, and everybody's working really hard. The thing is that this is a great time for everybody, whether it be in our industry or other industries, to get caught up on some of your backlogs. We were certainly running on some backlog, and we know that our revenue is going to slow down over the next couple of months because simply people are not racing. Now, some people would say that's a bad thing. Some people say it's a good thing that there's this extra time. But for companies like us, it actually gives us some time to take a step back, focus on how to find efficiency in our plant, how to make a better product, and come out as a better and stronger company when this crisis is over. And we're going to come out of this. It's not, if we're going to come out, it's when we're going to come out. And when we do, Total Seal is still going to be here. We're going to be a better company. We're going to have higher quality products, and we're not going to have as much of a backlog.
I think that is a great attitude, positive attitude, and, probably comes from we haven't really spoken about your upbringing, but certainly your military training. You've got to use the opportunity that you have. And that's what this is. I mean, it's very terrible. Obviously, the medical side of it. People are in hospitals. People are dying. Let's face it. I don't even like to say the words, but all of a sudden we're presented with all this. I don't want to call it free time, just a disconnect from the routine we were all in. What are we going to do with that opportunity? For me, I started this, right? I've got all these great people that I interact with, and now we can do it live. People are bored. They're looking for something to watch. You guys are eliminating your backlog. And if you're an engine builder out there, you're probably doing much of the same.
Well, Joe, you look at it this way. We did have a tremendous backlog, but the good thing is our phones are still ringing on any given day. If you look at how many phone calls come in and you go back to, last year, the year before during the first quarter, and you average it over the course of each day over the month, and you say, okay, that's what our average call volume is. You look at it right now, we've not fell off on call volume very much. We still have a tremendous amount of racers calling in, needing product, needing manufacturer support. A lot of the manufacturers in other states are closed. That gives the opportunity for them to, if they didn't maybe had a chance to call us, they are calling us now. So we're still getting hundreds of orders a day. And most of the shops that we talk to, we get all my sales guys give me a daily log at the end of the day. I would say 90% of the shops I'm talking to have a ton of work. They have enough work for at least the next 2, 3, 4 months in the shop. So I think we're going to see a slowdown maybe in a month or two as far as, the new builds coming into the engine builders. But for right now, everybody has work. There's a lot of stuff to do. There are racers that are still going out testing in small groups, 5, 6 racers at a time. Tracks are opening up for test sessions. That's keeping the social distancing. It's doing exactly what the government's asking us to do, but yet they're still out there. Dynos are running. I talked to Jason Line 2 days ago. Their dynos are running. He said that when we come back out, they're planning on having a much better engine program than what they had going to Gainesville. So when we go back to Gainesville, we should be better. These are all positive things in our industry. The automotive industry is not going to get hurt as bad as, say, the retail industry, hotels, airlines. Racers are still racing, just not as much today. So this is a great time for the average guy, the do-it-yourself guy who, maybe he works at, somewhere in the mall, but he's got a 69 Camaro that he needs to work on his engine or transmission or rear end. This is a great time because now he is at a stay at home, but he can go home. He can figure out what he needs for parts. He can call Total Field. He can get the parts. We're even offering some specials right now for the do it yourself type of guys. And it's a great time for them to come forth and get the product and manufacturer support that they need.
Well, exactly. And, whether it be organizing a studio, my car has been, cleaned and shined several times already. When we get back racing, everybody's going to have the best stuff that they've ever had, ever. And it's great that you're helping some of the local guys, local isn't really the right word, but privateer, DIY, someone building an engine, that like building an engine is something that many people aspire to. It's something like, you're a kid, you build a model car. When you're a grown-up, you build an engine and you put it in your car, whether it be an LS or a Coyote. That's what all these parts manufacturers hope to do. Not everybody is a professional engine builder. It's something that a regular person can give it a shot.
No, absolutely. When, you look at the shops across the country, you look at a Steve Schmidt or a Rare Morrison or a Pat Musey, Sonny Leonard, they are definitely professional engine builders and they build the best of the best for all forms of racing. But what about Joe, a guy like you? You have a car. If you were building an engine right now, if you were putting an engine together for a bracket race car, you may not be able to afford to go out and hire Pat Musey to build you an engine. But you can call up all the manufacturers, buy the parts, and there's a lot of stuff out there, like stuff that you do on your podcast, stuff that you do on the video stuff now. How do you put that engine together successfully? You watch a lot of YouTube videos, you read a lot of books, you talk to a lot of the manufacturers, you get technical support from your buddies. And at the end of the day, that's what built the automotive industry in the beginning. It was the do-it-yourself type of guy. Those guys exist. They're not, we don't only cater to Formula One, NASCAR, Pro Stock. We cater to the end user, the Saturday night racer that's out there running 13 seconds in an engine that he built in an 84 Camaro. those guys are very important to us, and we want to make sure that we support them, especially at this time in this crisis that's going on in the country.
And you're doing some things special for them. And I know they can go to totalseal.com to find out more information now. And, you know, lay it on us like what you want. If somebody is that person we just described and, you know, what is their flow? Because this is a thing that's interesting about the automotive. And we're going to talk. I'm going to ask you to teach me how to do a burnout and a pro stocker here in a second. But the auto parts industry, right? Like the guy who built the chassis on my race car, which I keep putting the photo up because somebody sent me a photo just the other day and it's just like tremendous. And I reminisce about driving, but he had his distributor and his distributor had his distributor. And there were a lot of links in the chain. And that's a system that, you know, this is how people are making money. So it needs to be preserved. At the same time, there's a lot of people that want to come direct to you guys. So how does it work?
It's pretty basic. You can call our 1-800 number 800-874-2753. Little plug for our phone right there. Yeah. And ask for any of our technical sales guys. We've got great guys. You've had a lot of them on your podcast and on your show. You know, these guys understand engines, not only piston rings, but they understand engines and they understand probably what you're working on. So all you have to do is call us or email us or go onto our social media channels and get a hold of us any way you can. We're going to take the time and respond to you. We're going to answer your questions. If you're just concerned about, do you even need new piston rings because maybe your engine's set for a while or you've had parts. I had a customer call. He's a comp guy. He's kind of bored right now because he's at home. He cannot go to work, and he's putting together an engine that he's had to parts since 1992. And he says, Matt, I have every single part except push rods for this engine. And I'm looking at the instructions in your rings that I bought from Total Seal in 1992. And it's nothing like I see today. Tell me where I'm at. Am I okay to use these rings? So we went through, talked about the rings. Absolutely. They were still fine. They were still new in the box. You know, he kind of just cleaned them up a little bit, made sure there was no rust on them, and he put them in. And that engine's probably running by today. Wow. But it was, you know, there's a lot of those guys out there right now who are going back and just finishing the projects that they haven't had time to do. You know, my wife asked me last weekend to finish a project that I hadn't done in 5 years in the house, which was paint the laundry room. It was not fun, but it's done. So, you know, everybody is finding things to do that they didn't have time to do prior to this happening.
All right. You referenced podcasts. I do want to mention to everybody out there, and it's unfortunate it goes right over Matt's face. Sorry, Matt, it's going right over your face. There you go. Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal. This was kind of a brainchild that you had. You invited me to do it. I connect with Keith and Lake, but it's really not about that. It's about the engine building trade and how intelligent these guys are. And oh my goodness, amazing stuff coming out of it. Now it's a certain type of person that wants to listen to this show, right? It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, but so much knowledge. Jason Line was our first, but we had Pat Musey and Stevie Fast and Keith Dorton coming out, Don Ott. We've got many shows yet to come. Kind of interesting how the podcast world is giving this conversation a place to happen. Engine guys talking about ring seal and flow and tribology.
Well, Joe, we came to you with this idea because you already had a very credible platform. WFO Radio has been around for a long time. I was on your show back in 2009, I think it was 2009 after we won the championship in the Mountain Motor Pro Stock. And I remember going to see, you invited me over to your booth at the PRI show, and so you've been around a long time. And when we had this idea, how do we get our customers to interact with our other customers? There is no doubt that there's a lot of customers that we have would love to hear what Pat Musey has to say, because they simply probably just can't call him up and say, hey, Pat, let's just talk about what you did, 20 years ago. He's not gonna have time for that. He's got a business to run. Same thing with Jason Line. To get him to talk about anything that's technical is probably pretty difficult, but yet we got him on your show and we were able to do that. Of course, you got to have some entertainment. You got to have Stevie Fast on there. And I think, we're going to see Keith Haney come on the show down the road. It was simply a way that Total Seal could use a source like yourself and get people that I would want to listen to get them out to the customer base for everybody to listen to about the history. And then we can get into the technical aspects when we get, Keith Jones on the show. Let's talk about, all the different intricate details of a piston ring, get Lake on to talk about tribology. We have a lot of technical knowledge, and we want to get it out to our customers. And Hidden Horsepower is simply just another venue for us to do this.
And that is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and you can find it. And there it is, covering up Matt's head. All right, Pro Stock. Let's get into it, because I think that it's come a long way in the last 4 years. A lot of changes. A lot of things have happened. I remember when they made you guys turn the cars around in
Denver.
And that was like a critical time. Like, okay, there was so much talk about Pro Stock and what's going on. Critical time. And since then, you've ramped up from a part-time season to a full-time season. Last year, you finished top 5 in the world. And we did some great content on NHRA's Facebook page where you guys actually let me, change a valve spring, which, where is it? Stand by. Here it is. The valve spring, which this thing is incredible. Like, this should be in the strongman competition to see if they could crush it. And the answer is no.
I think we did that right before first round in Richmond, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're crazy. And
it wasn't like during qualifying. It was like going into first round.
Folks, I'm Italian American. Superstition is a thing. My dad, like growing up, don't jinx it, which you people out there who don't believe in any of that stuff, man, it's so great for you. Me, I touched Matt's car. If something goes wrong with Matt's car, it's obvious.
You're to blame. We blame you for everything.
There's no doubt it would be my fault. I did it. I touched it, whatever it is. I broke it. So we changed the valve spring, and what happened? You guys had a problem right after. It was on the other bank. It wasn't my fault, but you did have a problem, right? You pulled a stud or something.
Yeah, but that was actually in a different run. I believe we had a transmission problem in the run after you changed the valve spring, and you hadn't. I don't know if you worked in the transmission yet or not, but
all the problems are blurring together. After I did the transmission, you had me build a transmission. That's when you had some sort of attack problem. See, Joe touches the car. There were problems, but
I was more worried when you packed the chutes, Joe. I'm telling you, that was my concern.
If I wanted to take you out, that would have been the time. But and then you let me warm up the car at the end of the season, which was fantastic. But through those conversations, and everybody, those videos are up on NHRA's Facebook page. I believe you guys have them in your social media channels. Total Seal. Everybody should go check them out. But we had some conversations, and one was about doing a burnout in a Pro Stocker. And the whole thing is this. It all comes back to Pro Stock cars are so much harder to drive than anybody can understand and anybody can really explain. It's just so challenging to try to describe all of the different elements that are happening in one of these cars at the same time that you have to manage. And just starting the car opened my eyes to a lot of that. And you told me a story about, learning to do a burnout. Every car goes up there, they do a burnout. And in Pro Stock, I would say twice an event, a top quality driver muffs a burnout. Tell us about doing a burnout in a Pro Stock car. What goes into it? What does it take?
The biggest thing about a Pro Stock car when you're doing a burnout is one, you have to be aggressive with it, but yet you have to be very delicate. And when I say that is there's two things that you can really destroy in a Pro Stock car during the burnout. One is the engine, and two is the clutch. Now you can also screw up the tires pretty bad if you're trying to do a burnout and you're trying to scuff in a set of tires. One thing you want to do is not have the RPM too high, because the tire, it gets narrower. As the tire gets more wheel speed, it grows more, it gets narrower. So you're always trying to also keep the contact patch at a certain width, depending upon how you run your program. So you've got all these things that you've got to be aggressive enough not to knock the clutch out of the car, because if you slip the clutch, you're going to throw away a $12,000 unit, which is no good. If you get it too high and up on the rev limiter and get it there for too long, you're going to probably either break a valve spring or drop a valve and destroy a $250,000 engine. And you're also, like I said, you're trying to get your tires to a certain temperature, a certain width, a certain contact area. So all these things go into simply more than a car you just see smoking the tires through a water box. And Joe, you started the car and you said it best. I mean, and you said it with your eyes. When that thing started, your eyes lit up like you couldn't believe. And then I just had you simply run it through 5 gears with it idling, with not at 10,500 RPM, not keeping it straight, not keeping it in the groove, not doing anything. And you said it was fighting you the whole time. These cars are animals, but yet you've got to be delicate enough not to break the components.
Very interesting. All right, look, we got some people out there. Like, look who's out there. Can you see that?
There you go, Lynn Carson.
It's Ed. No, it's Eddie. He says controlling her thing. I don't know. How about that? Eddie Grenache, talk about his involvement in just racing in general, but this guy's like a lifer.
Yeah, Eddie's been around forever. I met Eddie back in the 2000s. The first time I ever won a round in Pro Stock was in the Nitrofish car in 2007 in Dallas, and I beat Jason Line. So that was and Eddie was the crew chief. It was his program. He was running the program for Kenny. They put me in the car. It was, to win that round, and you look back, and Jason Hughes, who drives our truck and trailer today, he was one of the crew guys on it. So, we've all been together for a long time, and Eddie he joined our team, but myself and Chris Ingleton, back in, I think, in the end of 2013, and we were still running the Dodge stuff. And Eddie was just, he's kind of the lifeblood of our team. He keeps us going. We probably fight like cats and dogs a lot of times behind the scenes and on the radio, but the best advice he's ever given me is when I screw up the burnout or I do something wrong in the car and I tell him I've done something wrong, he'll say, listen, that's over. What's the next step? Let's go. Move on to the next thing. You can't fix that. Move on. Get that out of your head. And he's a good calming factor that way, where a lot of crew chiefs would sit there and kind of belittle you or give you grief because you made a mistake. He's like, all right, we're past that. Move on. Let's fix it.
Wow, that is and that's what it takes. You can't get down on yourself. You're doing something so complex and complicated. It's easy to get down on yourself, I'm sure. Like, oh my gosh, and to have someone that's building you up as opposed to tearing you down. And you guys have fun. I think that's what's really cool about your team. Now, everybody has fun. We're all playing with cars, going fast, competing. There's nobody out there that doesn't want to be there very, very badly. There's no one be forced to run Pro Stock. They are having a great time. But you guys,
we're there because we want to be there, Joe. There's no doubt. And we certainly, right now, we have a team that's capable of winning the championship. We had a team last year that was very capable of winning the championship. And as I've told you in one of the other podcasts, I feel that I was a large reason that we did not win the championship last year. Going into the last two races, I made some mistakes, not only in tuning, but driving. And something, I had all winter to think about it. And we came out this year and, we made some major changes to our program. We switched from one engine supplier over to KB, and, to go into a camp of all unknown, you got Greg Anderson and Jason Line. You have to look up to these guys. I don't care if you're a crew guy, a crew chief, or a driver. You have to look up to what they've done and what they've accomplished. And to move over there and to go to Pomona without any testing and still come out of there, top 5 in points. And then, we went to Phoenix and struggled a little bit. And we said, let's go to Florida and test in Orlando at the World Door Slam,
where you were number one qualifier and ran the quickest ET in the history of the fuel injection era, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you have a program right now that there's never in the history of the class with EFI been a car quicker than us, I think we have a pretty solid program. And you have to remember, we're 4 part-time guys working on this car, Joe. I'm at Total Seal. This is my priority. Eddie's got his businesses in Pennsylvania. That's his priority. Adam Bashan, my brother, he builds houses for a living and remodels. That's his business. And then, of course, Chris Ingleton, CIP1, largest Volkswagen distributor, aftermarket distributor in the world. Him and Steve have a great business up there. And, they're struggling like we are right now with this crisis as well. But we're 4 guys who all have businesses to run. And yet we're able to show up at a track and get quality components around us and gel together and go out there and be the quickest car right now on the planet. I'm really proud of that. And for anybody to say that we're not a contender right now, I think they're not looking correctly.
No, I agree. We just got to get back out there. Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time. What you have done, obviously, the concept behind Hidden Horsepower, and let me touch Pro Stock Car, all because you want other people to be able to relate to what's going on in Pro Stock. I think it's working. I think the category is healthy. The argument is being made by many that it's the healthiest category out there. I understand why. And certainly Lucas Oil Series racers, sportsman racers, bracket racers. Antron was on this yesterday, and he said that his dad, Al, and his uncle, Andre, the category that they care most about all the time he was growing up was Pro Stock because they could relate to it. And
Right.
I agree so much with that. Hey, thank you for coming on this live stream show. I know you got a lot going on. You got a lot of people to manage, a lot of things going on at Total Seal. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right. Matt Hartford, everybody, here with us on WFO Live. Oh, yes. Now, NHRA Nitro is our podcast, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher. We have a WFO Radio mobile app. It is free. It is in the App Store. You can get it now for Google, Android, or for iPhone, and it is great. Justin Ashley is going to be our next guest. He is getting geared up in the green room, if you will. But I do want to tell you about the people who make WFO Radio possible. Oh, yeah. This doesn't just happen for fun. We're talking about people like samtech.edu. Start your education at full speed. Really, you heard Matt, and I hope you take away from that interview like, man, smart guy, right? We need the next generation of smart guys, engine builders, machinists, CNC programmers, EFI programmers, and samtech.edu train young people and middle-aged people, frankly, to do that. Go to samtech.edu, start your education at full speed. And what's funny is Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal, our podcast that we put up there. There you go. Hidden Horsepower. We are interviewing the greatest of the great engine builders. And at the end of every episode, I ask for a little advice for the young people. And several of them have said, go to Samtech. John Kazi. Yeah, well, you should go to Samtech. And so that made me feel great about the people we have relationships with on WFO Radio podcast. And speaking of Samtech, Factory Stock Showdown, another podcast. Yeah, can you tell what my business is, right? We're creating a lot of podcasts for a lot of people, high quality stuff. SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, Spotify. If you like the Factory Stock Showdown cars, you will love it. But also Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Bummer, man. I don't want to say Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School is a bummer, man. I'm saying they invited me to go on their Dragster Adventure program, and I could not go because of this social distancing situation. But if you ever wanted to drive a dragster, you can drive a dragster at Frank Hawley's against a bunch of other people. And obviously, they're working out the situation right now. But if you want a license, if you want to get a super comp license, super gas, top alcohol, funny car, Frank Hawley has got a program. Go to frankhawley.com. One of our oldest and longest running sponsors, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. You already heard about Total Seal. Marvin Rodak. Oh my gosh, this guy, Marvin Rodak. WFO Radio listener. Me and Reinhardt are talking about bacon because everybody loves bacon. Bacon is like the unifying element of the world. Like, what can we all agree on? For the most part, bacon. Certainly here in the States. And he sent me a recipe. We started talking. Turns out, he roasts gourmet coffee from all around the world, fresh per your order, ships it out. Does hot sauces and spice rubs, sells grills. He's located in Fort Worth, Texas. Marvin, great guy. Plus MagicDryUS.com, Drag Racing Edge Magazine, and other people helping out WFO. You can always find out about our sponsors. And of course, you can listen to the podcast WFO. All right, time for our next guest, a rookie in the world of Top Fuel, but he doesn't act like a rookie. He doesn't drive like a rookie. In fact, in A Fuel, he won his first race. Bobby Bennett. And hopefully you're feeling better out there, Bobby, getting better and better. Justin Ashley joins us now. Justin, how are you, brother? What's going on?
I'm doing great. I'm great. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for joining us here on WFO Live. And, we had you on after your first win. You are the son of a great drag racer, but the way you handle yourself on the track is pretty beyond your experience level. Why is that? How did you do it?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be able to grow up around the track. So being able to watch my dad drive on the track, but also the way he was able to represent himself and his sponsors and his team off the track was something that I definitely took notice of and something that I try and carry with me moving forward. But for me, I drive and take care of what I can take care of, but my team makes it look easy for me. They do such a great job. Aaron Brooks, Dustin Davis, and all the guys from Davis Motorsports just do such an awesome job top to bottom. So for me, they just make my job easy. I'm just the lucky guy who gets to sit in the car and go 300 times.
Well, that's a very, humble answer, and I do not accept it. I reject your answer. You have gone out there, Justin, and had one of the best reaction times in a category with a bunch of great levers. Like, think of the great levers in the category: Doug Coletta, Antron Brown, Steve Torrance, Sean Langdon now. And you are leaving with and ahead of them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, something, my reaction times are something that I take pride in. That's part of my job, is to go up there and give my team the best opportunity to win. So it's a total team effort. But when it comes to reaction times, I really can't speak to what other drivers do. But I know from, my personal standpoint, I just go up there and try and take each round and kind of isolate it and make it its own round. But for me, there's no difference between testing, between Q1, between the final round. There's no emotion at all that I put into it. I just try and keep everything simple, be as robotic as possible. And that's something that I learned from a young age, from watching my father, watching drivers like Antron Brown, from going to Frank Hawley's drag racing school, is to be as robotic as possible and keep the emotion out of it and just go up there and do your job. But to be able to compete and run with guys like Doug Coletta, with guys like Antron Brown, and the other veterans in the class, and the young guns out there that are just doing an amazing job, is a privilege for me.
Well, it's been great to see. Aaron Brooks, here's a guy who's got, yes, he has bounced around, but he spent a lot of time with Alan Johnson. And he's the kind of guy who, in my opinion, is just looking for the right chemistry, the right situation. And I think it's with you. And I know you've ramped up this team. You've had great success. You're great at the marketing. And obviously, you guys have put together a team that can compete.
Yeah, I think Aaron's a great fit for our team. I've been fortunate enough to know Aaron for a long time, but our relationship has really grown over the last, half a year to year or so. I feel so incredibly lucky to have Aaron on my team. That's my guy right there, and I'll go to bat for him any day of the week. I think that, in my opinion, he's the best crew chief in the sport, and he's not afraid to go out there and lay down a number. And, I'm proud to have him as a part of our team. And he's had a lot of experience, which for us, a young and upcoming team, has helped us a lot. He's worked with the Alan Abbeys of the world, the Bernsteins of the world, the Morgan, Lucas, Richie Crampton. He's won Indy before. So he just brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table, and he's extraordinarily bright. And you can see that. And he's a really good leader and someone that we all look up to. We're really feel fortunate to have him on our team. And he's shown just in the 5 races or so that we've ran that he's not afraid to go out there and try and lay down a number. And I think that's something that as a driver, I love that. Nothing makes me happier than that. And as a team, we love it also.
And it's about the hunger, right? And by the way, for our audience out there, I hear a little clicking. I think that's on my end. This is where I would ask you to deal with it, and we'll just tough it out. But when Aaron went out there and helped Jeff Deal for a few races, to me, not that my respect is in question of any of these guys, but when you work at the highest level, Alan Abbey, Alan Johnson, and then you go out and you work with Jeff Deal, and you understand that the budget is limited and they're doing it for the love, and it doesn't matter, and you're out there helping out. I see you there. At that point, you have earned a different level of respect.
Yeah, I think that Aaron's really, it just speaks to his experience. He's not afraid to go from, working at that highest level to maybe working, at a little bit of a lower level. And, it just speaks to the kind of guy he is. There's no ego involved with him, which is something that, you can't always say that about just people in general right now. So he's willing to work with anybody. He's willing to help anybody because he's that kind of guy. And, we're fortunate to have him be a part of our team. And yeah, there's no guy that I'd rather have right now.
All right, so you got a bunch of stuff going on as a young man. You're a businessman. You're a professional. You got a race team. How is this whole crisis affecting your situation in the housing market with your show where you're rehabbing houses and all that? Lay it on us.
Yeah, so, I mean, first and foremost, all my thoughts and prayers are going out to everyone out there who's struggling from this pandemic. And, I really want to thank the frontline workers right now, whether it's the policemen, the nurses, even the grocery store workers that are kind of keeping everyone going right now. For me personally, I have my own fix and flip real estate business, and it's been tough, just like everyone else out there. We've had to put things on temporary pause. I am technically, as of yesterday, allowed to continue on my rehab projects for these houses, but I'm not going to do that, because to me, the safety and the health of the workers, of the real estate agents comes first, and that's the bottom line. We're in a little bit of a hotbed right now in New York, and it's very prevalent. So for us, it's about just putting things on temporary pause and staying inside, trying to take advantage of the time the best that we can. And for me, I'm actually looking at taking some online courses in real estate, just because I think that power is knowledge, and or knowledge is power rather, and you can continue to learn and continue to grow no matter how long you've been in the business. So that's really the way I'm trying to take advantage of my time, and we're resilient. So when things are back to normal, and they will be, I'm sure, at some point in time, and when we're back racing, the business will be back up and going again, and everything comes for full circle. It'll work itself out. It's just going to take some time.
It is going to take time. Great that you're working there. Hey, tell me about Hero Soap, the Hero Soap Company. They're on board, and they're actually doing some really good things.
Yeah, so Hero Soap Company is an awesome company. I think that it's really relevant to what's going on right now in society, especially with the prevalence placed on, hygiene and making sure that you're safe and healthy and clean. Hero Soap Company is a soap company that's veteran owned and operated. But what they do that makes them special is they donate a portion of their sales to veterans and military members, to police members, and to fire rescues, and to charities that help those causes. So I think that's good at a time where I know myself, I'm feeling particularly patriotic and in a charitable mood, as I think we always should be. This is a company that's really run the right way. They really get it. So, for those of you who are looking to purchase some soap to make sure that you're clean, you can use the promo code Team Ashley. But most importantly, they are a charitable business. They are a charitable cause, and a portion of their sales do go toward helping those people who help us.
That's tremendous. I need soap. That's one product that everybody needs. We need soap, and why not go on there? And so what? There's a promo code Team Ashley.
Promo code Team Ashley. You'll get 10% off, and they also have a pretty cool deal called the subscription. So if you get a subscription, you can get your soap on a monthly basis instead of a one-time purchase. But when they do that, they match it and send soap directly over to the military members. So if you're interested in doing that, that's a really good way to support our military members right now.
All right. Tremendous. Okay. So I do this with every field racer. Describe a run so that those of us who never get to do it feel it.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you, the first time I got behind the wheel and I did a run, I don't even think I knew what happened. By the time it was like, by the time I pulled the chutes, the run was over. But now that things have calmed down a lot and things have slowed down for me, there's really nothing like it. It's a difficult experience to describe, but you're going 0 to 100 miles per hour in less than a second. So I think more so than anything else, you feel it. As soon as you hit the gas, you feel it. All those G's set you back in the seat, and by the time your mind processes what's going on, it's just up to you to pick a point ahead and keep that car straight. And I think the amazing thing about these top fuel dragsters is they just keep pulling, man, and they do not stop. They're violent, they're aggressive, and it takes all of your focus and energy to be able to contain these beasts. So, more so than anything else, it's just, the raw power that comes out of them. And there's no doubt about it. You can feel it from the time you step on the gas to the time you pull the chutes. It catches your attention and holds your attention.
Amazing stuff. I love hearing about it. I can't wait to get back out there. Justin, thank you very much for coming on WFO Live. Appreciate it, what you're doing. Strut Masters on board. Chip, what an amazing person, supporting so many cars out there. We got to get back out there. That's it. We got to get back out there. And thank you for coming on.
Sure. Thank you. When you get a chance, send me a WFO decal. We'll place one on the car. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you very much, Justin. I appreciate it. Take care. Be good. And we'll see you down the road. There we go. Later, Justin Ashley. How about it? And, there was a little clicking when I was talking, but, we're flying the plane. People are asking me, are you going to be live streaming every day? And the answer is no, I'm not going to be live streaming every day. I don't intend to. I am learning how to drive this new car and see where it goes. The NHRA Nitro podcast is definitely our number one thing. and want you to go and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Why? Because you don't have to look at something, right? Like you can drive and you can work and you can put it on in the background in the garage and listen to Alan Reinhart talk about what it takes to build a stock eliminator car. That was a great conversation. Antron Brown, of course, yesterday, but last week we had Rob Flynn, we had Bobby Bennett. Bobby, this was a very tough interview, folks. Bobby was, he contracted COVID-19 and he was on his way to the Gator Nationals, and it hit him so hard. It hit him so hard, and you read his story, but you got to hear his voice, and that is all in the WFO Radio archive. So you definitely want to check that out. Now, we've got time for some comments out there from the listeners. Like, let's see. Kevin, hey, Joe, WFO, hope you and Gio and y'all's families are good. Yeah, our families are good. My father, great guy. I talked about him a little bit yesterday. Like, obviously, who doesn't think their dad is a great guy? I guess that person is out there, and I feel it's a bummer, right? But my dad, great guy. Like, the reason I'm doing everything that I'm doing, motivated. But can't fight this one. This is something he's got to hide out from. Sometimes you got to fight and sometimes you got to run. And this is one of those times where you definitely want to hide out. And so we've got him just chilling in the house. And think of how many people a month ago, 2 months ago, would have loved to have just chilled in their house. And fortunately, we got all these great TV possibilities, DVRs and live streams and television and great shows. I started watching Stranger Things, right? I'm going to get in on a bunch of different stuff now in my free time. I'm also, what did I do? First thing, organized my closets, organized everything. Organized everything. I'm not even done yet. All the backlog that Matt Hartford was talking about. Let's see. Jay Seelig, morning from Arizona, out there in AZ. And that is home of Total Seal. Let's see what Bobby Graham has to say. Hoping that we all learn to keep the American companies as our first choice. Hang in there. Whew. This is something I have been talking about. And many of you know me from WFO and NHRA drag racing, et cetera, and so on. But my career arc, which I always talk about on the show, is a little different than that, in that I was a kid. We were all a kid who went bracket racing. And so I was a high school track champion bracket racer. And so just like so many other drag racing kids, our whole life is defined by wanting to go drag racing and drag racing. But something I also, a parallel track was talk radio, like morning show radio, talk radio. And I would go to my, college classes and end up being late because I would sit in the car listening to a funny bit that was happening. And like Ron and Ron Radio Network, that's a Florida thing. And so I always wanted to do talk radio and ended up here. Great story, long story for another day, perhaps. But the whole time, back to fights and debates in high school. I graduated in 1991. Don't want to tell you guys exactly, but you can figure it out there. With my friends with, import cars versus domestic cars, right? Now it's kind of a normalized thing. But back then in the 80s, import cars were the rage. And I was a domestic guy. And Toyota has done great things in the sport. And of course, I have totally, changed my mind. But when it comes to like what I'm going to buy, I'm a Pontiac guy. And somebody shared a fantastic photograph of my own car the other day on my Facebook page. And I wanted to share it with you guys. This is our 78 Trans Am. My dad, this is really the reason I'm here. We had like a 71 Pontiac Grand Prix. Dad's a Pontiac guy, so I became a Pontiac guy. And in 1978, we went to JM Pontiac in Hollywood, Florida. I'm 5 years old, and they buy this car. It did not look this way. It was white, red interior, red bird on the hood. And the car became the center of my life. That's it. Like, what are we doing with the car? What can we do with it? At first, I cried. Like, oh, the old car is gone. I love that car. Yeah, right. Big mistake. Instead, we started to evolve 1983, 84. First of all, he got a paint job like this right away. It was driving around on the street looking very similar to this. First thing, he had an airbrushed Eagle. This is the 70s and 80s. Things were different then, right? You were wild on the street. Think of the vans with the volcano on the side and the lady with the sword and all that stuff. That's coming back, incidentally. But got into the drag racing, Miami Hollywood Speedway. You see the logo up here on the wall, where we went, Miami Dragway, just the best place in the world, and wanted to race. Dad, what can we do? Dad, what can we do? Dad, what can we do? And, he wanted to race too. And so as time went by, we evolved the car into a bracket race car. We wanted to go bracket racing. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to go bracket racing. And we eventually got this car done by Ernie McDaniel Race Cars. May he rest in peace in Davie, Florida. But the car is just a tremendous car. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I got this photograph sent to me yesterday and put it up on Facebook. And this is the car whenever I talk about going back racing. Right now, we've got to take the engine out and we got to go new rear main seal, and I'm going to need new piston rings. Fortunately, I know someone who's going to help me out with that. But I'm eager to go back racing. But I have been fighting the fight for American companies my whole life. My whole life fighting against people. When the Walmart scenario came around, when was that? Mid-90s, when people came to me, and I remember distinctly a friend saying, Joe, have you been to Walmart? And, I'm early 20s. So like going and shopping and getting a discount is not the top of my mind. It's not something I'm thinking about at that time. Like find the cheapest. We got to find the cheapest, always finding the cheapest. And that's just not where my head was at the time. Antron said it yesterday in our live feed, and the audio is up on the WFO Radio podcast. Al Brown said to him exactly what my father had always said to me, which is the antithesis of find the cheapest. It's buy the best. Now, don't find the cheapest, buy the best. And those two things are opposite. And so when Antron's dad said, buy the best and you only buy it once, then that's exactly what was coming out of my dad the whole time. So when my friend came to me and said, oh, buy the cheapest, you could get stuff super cheap. It was, well, if it's the cheapest, it's not the best. And if it's not the best, I'm going to have to buy it more than once. It's probably garbage. So this is a fight I have been fighting with close friends, relatives, strangers, people on the street, people in a line at a grocery store. Like, what's going on? And I'm not afraid. I've never been afraid to strike up a conversation with someone about what they're doing wrong. But here's the thing. And it's a little bit like I have trouble holding it back, especially on WFO, where we avoid all of this, anything political and anything. But this, like, where were you guys, man? Where were you guys when we were fighting the fight 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they're shipping all these jobs away? We knew, a lot of us knew this was bad. I'm not saying it was you. I'm saying, there were a lot of people and you probably know them. And where were they? Right? Not you. They. Where were they? We knew this was happening. Shipping off all the manufacturing. Tried to stop it. Tried to fight. But it's so cheap, Joe. I can't say no. You can't say no, right? Well, here we go. Can't say no. All right, so there it is. You've successfully, Bobby Graham, got me making a commentary about the world, which is something I try to avoid here on WFO. I try, but I have opinions. And I guess now is the time. But been doing a lot of great stuff around the house, and we'll continue. So Courtney Enders was going to be on the show, and today got super busy for a lot of people. So we might end up doing tomorrow, or we might not. You're going to have to check in and see. The good news is the archive is absolutely loaded. And Apple Podcasts, Spotify, two great places. But we also have our WFO Radio mobile application. And while the app is the best that we have done, thanks to the folks at App Burst, you can now get the YouTube show in the app, which I think is super cool. Now, I really was hoping that what's happened is we are getting comments from WFO Radio listeners, or supposedly, but that aspect is frozen. Like the last comment I got was from 10 minutes ago, and it was Kevin. So maybe there's no comments. Maybe there is. I don't know. When I just torched everybody that buys from China, you'd think that someone would have responded to that. So I think it's frozen up pretty much. I do want to say thank you to the people who make it possible and encourage you. Obviously, Total Seal piston rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Total Seal has been very helpful to WFO in this podcast that we've created for them. Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal is really interesting if you're a gadget guy, an engine guy, if you're into what makes things tick. And it will give you a lot of insight into a lot of the things that are out there. So go subscribe to that and listen. That's a good late night listen. Total Seal, piston rings, Hidden Horsepower. We've got a lot of great shows coming up. And Factory Stock Podcast, Brian Massengill, the Massengill family, samtech.edu. Learning a lot with them too. You know, EFI tuning. Like, what are jobs that are still going to be jobs, right? Is, what jobs are still going to be jobs? We don't know. We don't know what jobs are still going to be jobs. Podcast host, probably still a job. But machinist, engine builder, CNC machinist, still going to be a job. So check out the folks at samtech.edu. We really appreciate them. And Marvin, order some coffee, folks. You believe in America and American business and keeping them going during this time of strife. RodakCoffeeandGrills.com. Hit up Marvin Rodak. And he is sitting by the phone, roasting coffee, making hot sauces and spice rubs. Amazing, award-winning Grillmeister, Marvin Rodak. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. How about Justin Ashley? And this is something that has happened on WFO many, many times. The greatest of the great go through Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School because Frank is the greatest of the great. And he has the analytical approach that you need to be successful. And whether you're learning to drive a dragster or an alcohol funny car, or just want the experience of the dragster adventure, like, book it now so that they know in the, in the fall, people are going to want to go out and have a great experience. Book it now. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the dragster adventure. These things run 130 miles an hour in the quarter mile. If you've never driven one, I think you will be pleasantly surprised. And MagicDryUS.com, also sponsor of the WFO Radio podcast, and it has been great. Final thoughts. I want to say thank you. The podcasts have been going great. We're 10 years in. We're ever expanding. Welcome to the studios, and we are going to continuously try to evolve and have fun. Tough times, but tough times don't last. Tough people do. And that is a motto. I didn't create that, but that is something that I'm going to try to live by during this period. Will everything be the same when we come out on the other side? No, it will be a different world. There will be different things happening. Yesterday, the Practice Tree Challenge, Kyle Seipel for Racers for Christ. It's up on YouTube. I have put it in our feeds. Great production, given the circumstances. It's exactly what it needed to be. You should all go watch. Great job with it. And who wins it? Who wins it? I shouldn't tell you, and I'm not going to tell you. But if you listened to WFO weeks ago, as soon as this thing came out, I told you who was going to win it. Probably the greatest drag racer ever won the thing. And it's all, who races the most, who keeps the stats, who's got the time, all that stuff. But who won the thing? Yeah, the guy I thought would win the thing. As soon as I saw it, who's winning this? Oh, yeah, this guy's winning this. I could tell. And I should have made a bigger deal about it, but I'm not a big prediction guy. Predictions, what's going to happen. Want to invite you to email me, joe@wforadio.com. You can definitely send me an email, fire off an email, thoughts on the show, things to do, guests to have. Follow us on Twitter. Obviously, we are staying connected with all of our partners, Drag Racing Edge Magazine and Competition Plus, and everyone has been very helpful over the years. It has been great stuff. And everybody's trying to survive now, folks. That's it. We're all in survival mode. So I want to thank you and I appreciate you. And that is going to do it. Now, the only thing that I forgot how to do is end the show smoothly. Just to smoothly end the show. Oh, wait, I remember what I got to do. Oh, you're going to have to bear with me now. Yeah, unprepared. Too busy hanging out with Hartford this morning, talking a little bit about what's up and what we're going to talk about, to bring up the most important parts of the show. But it's okay. I got it squared away now. And that's the thing I like about this deal, is that I'm flying everything. No, I don't have to rely on assistance, which is something that I hate doing. But WFO's over. when you hear Clearside. Great musician, by the way. We've got a lot of musicians in our crew. We got Clearside, who makes a lot of music for video games and such. And also, we got Gary Corbett, who is a regular listener and a Grammy Award winner when you see the Ignition Show. Remember, subscribe. Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. Subscribe. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. And thank you so much to the great sponsors, the people who make it all possible. They have stepped up. They're supporting WFO, and we're trying to give them added value. So if you're a person out there and, you're bored and you see a logo, think about it. Whether it be Magic Dry or Frank Hawley's, Marvin Rodak's something you can call and order right now. 817-924-6821. Makes special blends of coffee. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Thank you so much. Time to hit the archive on WFO. Appreciate you.